One of the biggest names in track and field right now is Sydney McLaughlin from the United States, who is the absolute greatest female 400 hurdler of all time, who is now transitioning over to the 400 meters. This has been huge news throughout 2023 because she really was so incredible in 2022 over the 400 hurdles, going undefeated, winning the World Championships, and of course setting a jaw-dropping world record at 50.68 seconds. That was such a huge world record that it really left the entire world speechless. It was that kind of record-breaking performance. Now, with so much dominance behind her up to this point, moving over to the 400 was a very interesting move. She could have continued in the 400 hurdles, and I personally think she would have been close to unbeatable this season. In fact, she probably still is, but jumping into the 400 meters has certainly added a brand new dynamic to her running thus far. And she's only run 2 races this season, but for this particular video, I wanted to take a deep dive into exactly what she's been doing this season because her first and second race are very, very different kind of runs. And despite her first race being a little bit subpar, her second race was drastically different when it came to the way she executed this performance. So let's go ahead and dive into the first race. In this year's Paris Diamond League meeting on June 9th, she ran the 400 meters in 49.71 seconds, which was a new personal record, and it was also one of the top performances in the world this season. This was a very solid run, as breaking the 50-second barrier at any point for the 400 meters on the women's side is a very quick run. However, it was obviously executed in a way that didn't reach her true potential, because over the first 200 meters, you can see that she was absolutely sprinting away from the field. In fact, she outright admitted that she ran this too fast, and with a split time of 22.66 seconds, she really went out close to world record pace here. Over the final 100 meters, she ultimately paid the price for her quick opening and finished with a time of 49.71. These split times throughout this race were just ridiculous. Not only did she run a fast 200, but she ran a lightning quick 300 meters that was so fast that it actually would have landed her at number 3 all-time for the 300, as she ran a split of 34.94. Now, it was obvious at this moment that she could run much faster if she ran a different race plan. And thankfully, she made a very good decision moving forward, because at this year's New York Grand Prix, she improved on her season's best by 0.2 of a second, running a time of 49.51 seconds, which would have been fast enough to have won the silver medal in last year's World Championships, only falling behind Shawnee Miller-Weibo, who finished in 49.11. Now, for this new and improved 400 meters, she actually opened up her first 200 over a second slower, as she split a time of 23.74 seconds. Now, a lot of people were wondering if she would in fact do this kind of slowdown, because she obviously went out too fast, but I actually think that she went out slightly too slow here, because if she could get out in 23.2 or 23.3, that would already save her 0.4 of a second. And even if she ran the second half just 0.1 of a second slower, she would be getting close down to 49.2 or 49.3. Now, it is very important to mention that Sydney McLaughlin is not in the peak form of her fitness right now. I think it's pretty obvious that she's still shaking off some rust from racing so little over the previous year. In fact, throughout 2023, she has only raced 3 times, as she ran once indoors, and she's only raced 2 400 meters during this year's outdoor campaign. Now, with racing so little, it is very impressive that she's already running this fast, especially in an event where she hasn't competed in regularly. However, it is also very impressive to see this kind of improvement over the course of just 1 week. But the real question still remains as to exactly how fast she'll run in this year's World Championships, or even how fast she'll run in this year's United States Championships, because we also have a very quick contingent in the United States in the women's 400, as we not only have Gabby Thomas, who has broken the 50-second barrier this season, but we also have the very quick Britton Wilson, who has actually clocked a time of 49.13 this season, which is actually the second fastest time in the world this season, only behind my Lady Polino from the Dominican Republic. These 2 races have completely different racing strategies, and even though they both were comfortably under the 50-second barrier, I think Sydney McLaughlin is still quite the ways away from her perfect 400-meter performance. Not only does she still have work to do in her racing execution and pacing strategy, but I fully expect to see her fitness only get better and better throughout the remainder of this year. And with this very promising prospect in mind, I would love to hear from all of you on how fast you think that she will run in the 400 meters in 2023. And while we're at it, let's go ahead and ask ourselves the question, is she going to run the 400 hurdles in this year's World Finals? And if she does, how fast will she run in that event as well? Thanks for watching, everyone, and as always, until next time.